Welcome to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast, where we explore root cause medicine, engage in conversation with functional and integrative medicine experts, and build community with like-minded health seekers. I'm your host, Amber Warren. Let's dig deeper. Welcome back, everybody. Amber Warren here with Emarene. What's your nickname? Aquamarine. Wasn't there someone calling you Aquamarine?
Because the name is so complicated, it's been called so many things.
It's really not that complicated. It's a beautiful name.
But there's a point where you're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Just whatever you want to call me.
Anne-Marie, Emily, whatever.
Okay, we'll do an intro. Emarene is a certified Ayurvedic advisor through Bastyr University, which is incredible. She has been a working herbalist for almost 9 years in some locally well-known local natural food stores such as World of Nutrition and the Boise Co-op. She has learned and trained in the subject of wildcrafting herbs underneath a well-known wildcrafter, Darcy Williamson.
That's right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And wildcrafting is where you actually go out into your environment and you basically identify and harvest medicinal herbs and know how to process them yourselves. So
cool. Well, you lead, I think we do it either annually or biannually. You lead a crew of
employees.
Team members. We can't call them employees.
I guess that's true. Team members. Fellow work people.
Fellow work humans at Bogus Basin. And you guys always go find your herbs up there.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think that it's important to teach the people that do work in functional medicine that your medicine is actually all around you and that it is truly free and that the earth does provide you with these very powerful medicinal tools. But because it's a lost art, we don't know that. We don't know that, like, we're walking, like, in front of Functional Medicine of Idaho and Meridian, there's literally Oregon grape growing there.
What?
And nobody knows this yet. So you have multiple Oregon grape, and Oregon grape is actually the main source. One of the main sources is berberine.
Yeah. So awesome.
I love those things, right? Like, it's beautiful.
What's your favorite part about functional medicine, or just getting to do what you do?
I think my favorite part, and I think almost everyone that is working here, which I actually love to say, is that we all have the calling to help people in our own way. And that truly is beautiful. Like, I think that functional medicine or natural medicine, you have this, like, X factor or this calling to do this.
Yeah.
I always say with, like, herbalism, herbs find you. There's so many people that are like, I want to be an herbalist, which you could, right? But, like, I think that good herbalists, they actually just have that X factor of, like, being good at it and having this connection with plant medicine. And I feel that same way with, like, functional medicine providers too.
Yeah.
Like, you guys have this passion that you were led to and were born with to do this type of medicine. And I actually love that. That's, like, a magical piece of it.
Yeah, we're also blessed to just have each other, and I feel honored just to come to work with the people I get to come work with every day.
Same, yeah, so cool. And learn from each other, and that everyone's open to learn from each other is, like, what you don't expect from in practices of medicine like this.
Yeah,
and I think that's also why we are so successful, is because there's humility, and also we all have the same goal of, like, how can we help this patient the best way that we can using everybody's knowledge and talents. Yeah,
so cool.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it happens commonly that my patients will say, well, I had this headache, or I was under the weather, so I just called Emarene at your Meridian office and she told me what I needed. And I'm like, great, what do you need me for? That's great. I'm so glad Emerene's out there at the wellness counter taking good care of you.
Yeah.
So you're just, you're so valuable to us. So let's just start with, what is a supplement?
A supplement, I think there's a misconception of what a supplement is, in that a supplement is actually taking things that are found in nature, like, let's say, fish oil. It's a good basic metaphor, I guess we could say. But, you know, when you're taking fish oil, it's omega-3s, it's that fatty acid from fish, and it's basically at a therapeutic dose, or it should be at a therapeutic dose if you're taking the right kind of fish oil, versus you eating anchovies or fish all day long. So a supplement is replacing the things that you are missing in your diet, but then it also is sometimes putting these things at a therapeutic dose to treat a chronic problem, and maybe not for long term. I mean, ideally with functional medicine, you shouldn't be on supplements for your whole life.
Right.
You should be getting some of these things through your food eventually. So, you know, when you take high doses of curcumin, it's to speed up the process of decreasing inflammatory response in the body. But eventually over time, with your diet change and maybe lifestyle change, you can be doing turmeric and black pepper in your food or something like that.
Right.
That's truly what a supplement, I think, is.
So I assume that's how you'd answer the question, because I'm sure you get this a lot, but I get a lot of patients. I don't want to take a fish oil. I just want to eat fish or foods high in omega-3s.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to take B vitamins. Just tell me what foods I need to eat to get the B vitamins that I need based on my deficiency on my labs. What's your response to those questions and statements?
Well, the other issue we have in our society is most of our food, like even if you eat a good diet, is depleted from minerals and nutrients because of the soil, because we've overly harvested and basically trashed our earth in a way.
Yeah.
And so that's a really tough one because like you can't fully get these great doses of things from food as much anymore because of the society we live in. But then there's also the aspect of consistency. If you're willing to eat, a tablespoon of nutritional yeast every single day, then you're getting your B vitamins. If you have a methylation problem, then you're still not going to be absorbing folate and B12. So that's an issue too, is that you can also get these things from your food, but maybe you have a genetic predisposition that you're actually not able to methylate it properly so that you can actually utilize it for your brain.
Right.
So I think it gets complex within the person, basically, and it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, you and Dr. Musnick talked about eating fish is not always the best way because our oceans are so tainted and have heavy metals and radiation and all kinds of,
environmental chemicals.
Yeah. And so even if you were like, I'm going to get my fish oil from all, eating, a pound of fish every day or whatever, which that person's going to smell great. But you still would not be necessarily getting these other, you'd get these negative aspects of it. So it's better to actually now probably take fish oil in a soft gel or a liquid because these companies, especially the ones we have, are testing for heavy metals and testing for toxins and also using small fish. I think that's a misconception.
It is.
Like it should be anchovies and sardines versus, salmon, and because they're going to be more toxic. So it's a tough answer because certain things you just can't avoid as a supplement sometimes. And then some things, yes, you can definitely eventually incorporate into your food.
So why do we care? I mean, I just hear this so often. Oh, well, I got my fish oil from Costco.
Oh, God.
I know. That's my response.
I hate hearing this,
I know.
actually.
Or I ran out.
Get out of this department.
I ran out of my B complex, so I just ordered it off Amazon.
Yeah.
Tell me why that's a problem and why we want to shout this from the rooftops.
Costco is specifically fish oil. Now
we love Costco for so many other reasons. Just
we're not ragging on Costco.
We love Costco.
But I think it goes with the thing of like, stick with what you're good at, right? Like, you know, like Microbiome Labs, great at probiotics and things. Mm-hmm. Are they Gaia herbs? Are they doing a lot of herbalism? Mm-hmm. No, right? Because that's not their jam.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing with Costco. And
stick with your organic blueberries.
Some of these basic brands is that, so like a lot of the fish oils that are cheaper are actually cut with a lot of things. A, they probably are not testing for heavy metals and, toxins.
Unfortunately.
B, many of those fish oils are actually cut with petroleum, and a lot of people don't actually know that. Yeah. And so then we know that petroleum, right, that comes from, it's truly gasoline, right? Yep. And you're consuming that to help with your heart health and stuff. And then here you are consuming a carcinogen at the same time. So you're not getting the full dose, A, because it's cut, and B, you're also getting a toxin. So this is why it's so important to actually, purchase reputable brands and pay maybe that little bit extra, because you're going to get a better absorption rate and your body will utilize it better, but also you won't get all these other negative aspects because you're taking the supplement to counteract something.
Right. Yeah, balance out something.
Yeah.
My understanding with Amazon purchasing, and I learned this at a conference, is that there's been, and I've heard this multiple times actually, that there's just no regulation on Amazon.
It's true.
So they can go to, say, Metagenics, they being some third-party seller from Amazon, can go to Metagenics and say, oh, all those multivitamins, those are great. They expired a month ago. We're going to purchase all of them, change the expiration date, and then resell it.
Yeah.
On Amazon.
There's so many things with Amazon with supplements. I mean, it's so hard because like you have third-party sellers. So then like let's say the phytomulti, a person purchased that and then it's sitting in someone's hot car for days and days and days and then they're selling it.
Right.
Unless you know for sure that it's purchased directly from that company, like it's coming directly from them, then, that's why you shouldn't do Amazon. Yeah. And then there's also like something happening now, which I don't know if this is fully true, but that they're actually like selling phytomulti, and then the pills that are inside of the phytomulti bottle are not actually truly that. So there's like kind of like a scammy aspect happening.
Oh no.
But once again, I don't know if that's fully true, but these are the things where it's like when you aren't purchasing direct or from reputable places with your supplements,
all bets
where,
are off.
Yeah. You
just don't really know.
Also, you don't know your sourcing. Like there's many brands where they are sourcing, let's say, NaC or magnesium from different huge wholesalers, and many of them are based in China, and they're not going to the main one every single time that we know is the purity of that type of magnesium. So you'll get different qualities of magnesium in different lot numbers.
Oh, interesting.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the actual like raw materials are changing
Yeah.
all the time because they're trying to find the best deal.
Yeah. It's tough because ease and convenience is so important.
I know.
So that's a tough thing, but we've tried to counteract that. You've put forth, I know we have multiple team members that have put forth so much effort on this online website.
Yeah.
Which we should create a link. We'll create a link down below to the website, funmedshop.com. So we've tried to make that easier. It gets shipped locally, so especially people in Treasure Valley get it pretty quickly.
Yep.
So that you're getting directly from the source, and you can still have that, or sign up for auto ship, or still have that convenience.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's cool about the online store is really like, I think people as humans, we naturally struggle with consistency, and to do that subscribe aspect of it helps you be consistent on the protocol that you're doing.
Right.
Because so many people get so overwhelmed because they're thinking about their lives, which is like paying bills in their family, and I have to take whoever to whatever, right? And so with the subscription, I think it's nice because they don't have to worry about like, oh no, I'm out now. Now I have to go in and to the clinic.
Right.
And maybe we are out at that moment and they're like, oh no, I can't go days without this. I mean, supplements responsibility, it can be very huge because like berberine's used for blood sugar. So when I'm out of berberine, I really feel really bad actually, because I know that if this person doesn't take this today, their blood sugar could be dropping, or could go high, whatever. And so supplements can be used like pharmaceuticals, and there should be this weight almost treated with that, you know?
I would agree.
Yeah.
So what are the products we run out of the most? Let's talk about our top supplements.
I do think berberine is one of them.
I was going to guess it probably was. Yeah, we call it berberine nature's metformin.
Yeah, it works so good, and just so many people are on it. I think that Megaspore is definitely one of them.
What's Megaspore? Let's tell our listeners what
Megaspore is a sporing bacteria blend. It has about 4 or 5 sporing bacterias in there, and a sporing bacteria is unique in that it's not like your lactobacilluses or your bifidos, right? Mm-hmm. It will survive stomach acidity, and then after it actually gets to the small intestine, then it's going to open its little shell and it's going to spore. And I think the other cool thing about sporing bacteria is that they have these really cool postbiotic properties. And a postbiotic is actually like a byproduct of the living thing, because it is a living thing. And so some of them help promote antioxidants, and some of them have antihistaminic properties, and some of them have inflammatory decreasing properties. And since we are so focused on gut health a lot here, I think that's why we're going out of Megaspore a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's effective in treating
it's
a
so
lot
good.
of, so that's definitely one.
What's your thoughts on pre and postbiotics?
I think that because there are some probiotics where the postbiotic could be negative, like histamine causing. Mm-hmm. I have heard this. Mm-hmm. So I think you definitely, this is why you go and see professionals, right? Mm-hmm. So that you're not just taking any probiotic on the shelf, because maybe that type of probiotic could be contributing to a histamine response.
Yeah.
And I think prebiotics are a misconception too, because prebiotics, we talk a lot about like, you gotta have the prebiotic in the capsule or whatever, right? But prebiotics are actually coming from food. If we get down to the nitty gritty, like squash has prebiotic properties, asparagus has prebiotics, and then you have these other fibers like acacia fiber and sun fiber. So I think that to have it encapsulated and to know your oligosaccharides and all the fructo oligosaccharides and all that, the quantity is nice, but it doesn't have to be that way, because once again, your food, just like Hippocrates said, right? Mm-hmm. Your food is medicine.
Let that medicine be the food. So that's one where you would say you can get it from your food, prebiotic. You don't necessarily have to take one.
Yeah, I think that it's an okay option. It's once again consistency. So if you're trying to treat something, Are you going to eat squash every day?
Yeah.
Are you going to eat asparagus every day? Are you going to eat, the prebiotic rich foods? If you are, then go for it. But if you're like, I'm not that person, that's where supplement actually has its place.
Yeah.
We have to be real with ourselves of who we truly are and what version of the medicine we're willing to take every day, whether it's a tincture, a pill, or a powder, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you educate on the different ratios of EPA to DHA? I'm going back to fish oil. I'm jumping back. Ratios of EPA, because I hear so many different thoughts, thought process, and different just approaches to EPA versus DHA ratios.
Fish oil is like, you need to know what your goal is. Because if your goal is to help like decrease inflammatory response or help the immune system or even depression, then you're going to want a higher EPA content than a DHA content. But if you have like, a concussion or Alzheimer's, dementia, or any kind of cognitive issue happening, functional wise, you're going to want a higher DHA content than you will an EPA content because that's the fat that the brain utilizes.
Right.
And our brain's 75% fat. I think we forget that.
Yep, I know.
So you need to once again think about like, what is your goals? Just because that person's taking a high DHA doesn't mean you're that person. And I think people do that in a lot of supplements. And maybe in a lot of natural medicine, they're like, my friend took this and they're like, a goddess now or whatever. And it's like, that's not necessarily what you needed.
Yeah, you might not fit in that box.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you tired of cookie cutter health that doesn't address your unique needs? It's time to discover functional medicine care designed to help you flourish. At FMI, you'll have access to a range of benefits tailored to support optimal health and longevity. Experience the power of personalized care and take control of your health with an annual membership at FMI Center for Optimal Health. Visit fmioptimal.com/membership today to become your absolute best.
DHA, I learned this last year, taking DHA actually can prevent you from getting a concussion. So for like our athletes, our football players, or little boys like mine that just love to hit their heads, I have them on a certain amount of DHA every day.
It makes
especially
so much
when
sense.
they're doing contact sports. It's like, why wouldn't we want to protect those little growing brains?
If the brain already has that fat flowing, then it has that source of repair, in a way, a source of repair.
Absolutely.
So that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I love that. I love that
cool.
data. Vitamin D with K, how much K, what kind of K? We know how important K is for vitamin D absorption, calcium absorption.
Yeah.
Educate us there.
I think so. Yes, definitely you want to have your D3 with K because, high doses of D3. And I think they categorize 5,000 IUs as a high dose. But most people actually should be taking that.
Yeah.
Can, of course, if you don't have the K, it can calcify the arteries, things like that. So I read this thing that I've always liked to say to people where they're like, D3 is like the car and like K2 is like the traffic cop. So like, it's a nice way for people to envision what's actually happening because basically the K2 is kind of in a way helping D3 go to places.
Go where it needs to go. Yeah. That's a great way to think about it.
Like,
I love
is it going to go to the lung? Is it going to help with bone? Is it going, so that's one of the things with like, I think COVID that was interesting that like D3 actually filled in the receptor that virus actually attached to.
Oh my gosh, that needed to be talk about shouted from the rooftops.
Yeah, so it's like
why we didn't put vitamin D in the water during the pandemic is unbeknownst to me.
Exactly, and many people that had issues were vitamin D deficient. If it is related, I don't know, but I think it's just an interesting fact.
Yeah, no, some really cool data that came out of that. Different kinds of magnesium. Can we go there?
Yeah,
we sell so many different kinds of magnesium here. Maybe touch on like 3 or 4 of the different versions that we sell and the benefits of them.
Yeah, and I think like we also get the comment from patients that they're like, I'm already taking a magnesium good. And
I'm like, so true.
What kind of magnesium is it?
Well, your levels are really low.
Still, so that ain't working for you. Yeah. But yes, magnesium citrate is bound to citric acid, so that's going to help. That's actually the least absorbable, so it's actually just used for the bowel. It draws water to the large intestine and flushes it. So we use it a lot for people who have like chronic constipation, or maybe even people that are on a detox because we want to help with like
keep it going.
Yeah, binders can like stop you up a little bit. And then magnesium glycinate's bound to glycine. And ideally, you want a bisglycinate. That means that it's been bound to 2 glycine molecules, and that's an amino acid. So that has a really good absorption rate. It can help with cellular function. It's utilized a lot for hormones, and it helps with muscle relaxation. I mean, it does a lot of, magnesium is like one of the most utilized minerals in the body. And many of us are deficient in it. So that's a good one for a lot of different things. Magnesium L-threonate is going to be, of course, where magnesium is bound to L-threonate, and that's the only kind that's going to cross the blood-brain barrier. So if we're trying to help with cognitive function, sometimes stress and sleep, that's going to be the only one that will probably work for that. Yeah. And there's also others. There's like magnesium taurate, which is so great for heart health because it's bound to taurine. Magnesium oxide, that's another one that's not very absorbable, but it's really good for constipation. So many forms of magnesium, and I think it's important that people do choose the right one for their problem.
Their need. Yeah, I would agree. So Dr. Pennick and I have been talking a lot about adaptogenic herbs. And we've been kind of doing this little anecdotal experiment here with some of our adrenal stressed out patients. Yeah. Adrenal hyperfunction, adrenal fatigue, hypofunction, whatever you want to call it. Stress, right? Cortisol imbalances.
Yeah, that we all have.
We all have. Using really high doses of some of these herbs, and we're getting some fantastic benefits.
Yeah.
I love ashwagandha. I love phosphatidylserine. I love cordyceps. Yeah. What are some of your, what do you see working the best with some of these patients that need that stress response?
I'm definitely an ashwagandha and cordyceps fan for sure.
Cool.
And in Ayurveda, they use really high doses of ashwagandha, and they use really high doses of maca. Like when I actually went through my schooling, I was used to like a little bit of these lower doses, and they were like, 5 to 10 grams is what you use to treat a person who's in like a major stress state. And I was like, whoa, that's a crazy amount.
Yeah.
But I think you do actually need those high doses initially, and then what we usually do in Ayurveda is then you taper down. You're not supposed to be on those high doses forever. So I think ashwagandha is really good. You see really good results with women with ashwagandha.
Yes.
There's like a femininity with this herb.
Well, it sounds so female, ashwagandha. Yeah. I don't know a lot of dudes that want to take ashwagandha.
It does, yeah. And it's just, you get it's always an herb that when women come back, they're like, oh my God, I could sleep. That's usually the first sign.
I'm not yelling in my kitchen all day.
Exactly. And so I love ashwagandha for that. Cordyceps, I think, is really interesting because it is adrenal supportive. It does give you energy. It's great for the lung, and it also boosts testosterone. It can boost testosterone. And I think that's the thing with adaptogens. Adaptogens are meant to be specific. Well, they're meant to help with homeostasis in the body. So it depends on who that person is. And adaptogens are interesting because they will adapt to what the body needs. So some people take ashwagandha, they're like, I got all this energy, it's great.
Yeah.
And then other people will take it, and it's like, it makes me really sleepy.
Yeah, it chills me out, which I love and I need. Like
and it's the personality, right? The person that is like, when they're stressed, they're like, I'm going to do a million things. It's going to chill that person out.
Yeah.
The person that is like, I have no motivation, I'm super stressed, it's going to give them energy. Yeah. And this is an interesting thing that happens with adaptogens. So like rhodiola, I think, is really good for the person that is maybe more of the unmotivated, or like, I'm really tired.
Yeah, boost them.
Yeah, because it gives them that like stamina, Siberian energy, right? And herbs are kind of like where they come from. I always like to think of that. Like rhodiola, it grows in Siberia, and they use it for athletes in Siberia or in Russia a lot. And now, of course, we use it for adrenals. But it is like that. It's a hardy herb. It has to survive the winters. It's like, it's harsh. It's got the stamina, and it acts like that too.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, the environment where they live is how they're going to like Pata Arco. It's like a South American herb.
Yeah,
super aggressive, antifungal, antiviral. Nothing survives it, and it lives in an environment where you would have to be that way.
Yeah,
you have so many insects. You have so much humidity. You have to be antifungal. Like you're gonna die as a plant.
That's so cool.
So like, the essence of where something lives is truly somewhat what it does too in the body a little bit. You know?
I'm curious your take on this, because you and I haven't talked about this. I've started taking in my practice over the past few years a much more approach when we're talking about pathogens, right? Whether it be bacteria, yeast, mycotoxins, fungi, not necessarily approach of like kill, seek, and destroy, especially in my patients, my nervous system heightened patients, they just need to calm down, but more of approach of like balance and maybe increasing the good guys to crowd out the bad. Yeah. So I'm definitely not using as many of these antimicrobial herbs that I used to use a lot in an early practice, and we were kind of trained to just attack with. And I'm finding so much more success.
Yeah.
Or if I do feel like we need to just get the fungal levels down, I'll do a short course of some antifungal herbs and then really work on just rebuilding and balancing out to keep. Are you finding that a lot?
I think that's a beautiful approach, right? Like that's truly how the body works is like, I mean, sometimes that's where Western medicine fails is because we're like, pew, 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 attack, 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 right? And then the person gets stuck in these cycles of like, now I have candida forever and I've been taking the antifungal forever. Because we all have candida inside of us.
Right.
It's population and you're totally right. If you increase the population of the good bacteria, and of course the diet, and they're not feeding it with sugar and everything.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Then you're going to decrease the candida because everything eats the same thing. It's all eating your food.
Yeah.
But if you have more of those good guys, then that everything serves a purpose also. Like I feel like it's like an environment. Like, you know, if you have too many cockatiels and you have not enough parrots, well, there's something that's going to die out, right? Because the cockatiel might eat something different than the parrot, right?
Do they eat different things?
I don't know.
I have so much to learn from you. It's good. It's great. It's a great analogy.
I don't know about birds, but I know about herbs. Anyways, but yes, I think it's like that in the gut, that it's this environment of all these different species and things, and this is how it truly works and works well together. And when you see an imbalance in the gut, it means that a bad guy, you know, overpopulated some of the good guys. And that's how that long term is to bring in more of those good guys to keep everybody in this balance of good and bad.
And just not to say there's an imbalance, right? Like I think we go, what's the root of the root of the root? Like there's a bad guy, there's a fungus, or there's a bacteria.
Yep.
And now we're saying, okay, well maybe it's just an imbalance and there's not enough of the good. But then it's also like, why isn't there enough of the good?
So, right.
Diet, lifestyle, stress, nervous system, toxins. So it's like, I'm honestly saying, but that might not be the root. We have to keep digging for that root.
It's a symptom of the root.
Correct.
Right.
I think that's a really important thing for a lot of our patients. And for me, honestly, as a practitioner to remember, like, oh, maybe I just can't treat the fungus.
Yeah. And then it also makes you think like, because in our world, sometimes I think we go even deeper, which makes it more complex, but like, it makes me think of like Bach flower essences. Bach flower essences are all about like, if you treat the emotional aspect of the person, then actually you treat like the true root in a way. So like if somebody's fearful all the time, you know, and then they were on antibiotics and they don't have high stomach acid too, they're gonna, you know, then have SIBO or whatever, right? And so I think that's the beauty of our medicine is we're thinking of the person as a whole, like thinking that emotional piece and that physical piece and maybe that spiritual piece. It's all interconnected.
So important.
And I love that about humans. It makes us really complex and kind of hard to treat, but it's also super cool.
It definitely adds to the complexity, but unraveling that and casting a white net is my favorite part of what we get to do.
So beautiful. Yeah.
So you know I end every one of my interviews with, if you could give our listeners, our community, one piece of advice that moves the needle the most on this topic, what would it be?
I think that it would be to remember that you are gaining herbs through your food. I think that's something that we forget a lot about because, you know, we don't use a lot of spices as much as we used to, and maybe as much as other cultures, but like using cumin, using coriander, or using thyme, or using turmeric and black pepper in your food is still doing things in this little tonic way. It's not necessarily therapeutic dosings, but if you search any of these herbs, of course, you're going to see they all have inflammatory decreasing benefits, right? And so when you're consuming these herbs in your food that we consider spices, you're actually getting these side benefits.
Right.
And I think that's a forgotten thing within our society because we're not used to cooking with spices as much. And that kind of got out for some reason. I think it's coming back.
I hope it's coming back because it is so many benefits just to get more creative in the kitchen with your spice drawer.
Thyme is one of the best antivirals and antifungal herbs, but who cares about thyme?
Yeah, it comes up at once every 4 months. Look at your recipes.
We're like,
it.
Chicken, it's good.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I'm here. I do stuff.
Just use me.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something.
There's a lot of viruses in our world right now.
Remember is that it doesn't always have to be in these capsules and things like that, I guess.
I love that.
Yeah.
I wish I just had like 6 hours with you to just continue to prick your brain and just do all the things. I know. So come hang out with us in Eaglemore. Promise? You don't come out here enough.
Yes.
You're stuck. You're so busy at that wellness counter in Meridian. We need you here.
But I'm a visitor here sometimes.
You are. We do like seeing you. We do like seeing you. And your blazer is spot on.
Thank you. Yeah.
Best jacket I've seen in a long time. Thank you, Emarene. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for listening to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast. For more information on topics covered today, specialties available at the FMI Center for Optimal Health, and the highest quality of supplements and more, go to funmedfoundations.com.